Find out what's making you sick and how to heal. Anthony William is the medical medium.
Hello, I'm Anthony William, and you're listening to the Medical Medium Radio Show, where each week I talk about the most advanced healing information and secrets about health, much of which is not found anywhere else and is decades ahead of what's out there now. As I've always said, who has 10 or 20 or 30 years to wait for answers for their illnesses? Life is precious and there's no time to spare. Let's get the healing now. Today's show is about pet health. Pets mean the world to us, so we're going to talk about that today. I thought I would, pets mean a great deal in my life. And so I eventually wanted to do a pet health show. You know, I mean, without pets in my life, I don't know what would have happened to me. My life's been changed. I don't know if you remember the first book I wrote just recently. It was pretty recently, the first book, Medical Medium. And I put in the first chapter, Origins of the Medical Medium. What happened to me when my dog, August, went out into the water and it was freezing cold. You guys know the story, obviously, if you've read this. But what happened was we were taking a walk on the shore of a inlet, a very kind of treacherous, like rough water, freezing cold water up north in New England, and we were taking a walk, and it was one of our last walks before moving on to the next destination where we had to go. We were getting a little retreat, a little time, a little freedom, and my dog wanted to play in the water one last time, but she jumped in, and she, instead of being in the shallow end, and kind of playing around in the shallow end, she just kept on going and going. And she was just out there. The water was about 37 degrees, 38 degrees. So it's freezing cold water. And she was going out there. Now, one of the tricks, if she ever did go in the water, is all you had to do is throw like a little pebble in the beginning of the shore, or in the shallow end, and it'll make a little splash, and she'll come back and want to go and investigate the splash. And so I was throwing in the rocks right there and calling her name out and everything. And she didn't come back. She was out there kind of lost because the waves were, and the current was a little rougher, and the waves were more difficult, and there was a patch of seaweed in her way. So she was splashing around out there. I knew we were in trouble. And so I just ripped off my boots and ripped off my jacket, ripped off my boots. And I dove right in, and I went out there, and it was like a shock to the system. And I felt that it was just a stabbing bitter cold. And I went swimming out there, and I got halfway before I thought where she was, and the water was splashing. The wind was picking up out of nowhere like crazy. The waves, I couldn't really see. I was treading, looking, and seeing where she was. And I was out there a bit, and Spirit said to me, "You have to turn back." And I said, "There's no way I'm going to turn back." And Spirit said, "You're going to have to. You're already losing the capacity to function because it was so cold." And Spirit said, "There's no way you're going to save her. It's not going to happen. You have to turn back." And I cracked because my dog meant everything to me. Everything. She meant everything because she kept me sane from years of hearing Spirit and all that I've been doing since age 4. And I didn't get her at age 4. This is later on. And even though I was still younger, this is still many, many years ago. But I wasn't a child when this was happening. I was a young adult, and pets in my life have kept me balanced. They've kept me elevated. They've kept me whole. You know what I'm talking about, right? Right? You have a cat, you have a dog, probably, right? Maybe you have a bird, maybe you have a horse. And And there's some people that can't have pets right now in their life, or it's a time in their life or situation, but maybe you've had one or your family's had one, so you know. And with all that I've had to hear Spirit telling me about all the things that I've done, of all the work I've had to do for people, starting out since I was young, getting the gift, forfeiting so many different things I wanted to do in my life because of hearing the voice of Spirit. And I cracked when I was out in that water. I did. I lost it. And I started yelling at Spirit. First time ever. And I was saying everything. I was saying, is this what I get? Is this how it ends? All that I've done, everything I've done, I've dedicated my life so far. I'm still going to dedicate my life so far. And this is the return I get. That's how I felt. That's what I was saying. And I was livid. I was so upset. And at the same time I was so upset, and I was telling Spirit all these things of how angry I was at Spirit, and how dare this happen where I lose my dog. It just isn't right. It isn't fair. And as I was saying all these things, I couldn't feel my body anymore. I just couldn't feel my body. I just couldn't feel it. And and Spirit said to me, swim out around 15 feet more, keep on going. And I couldn't believe it, but I felt something come over me, and I know it was because of Spirit. And I was able to push myself out further. I was still disgruntled. I was still being, being what is it? Yelling at Spirit. I was still saying my piece, still stating my case. I was still stating my case as I was trucking out there further. And I got out there, and Spirit said, you're going to be able to take a deep breath, and you're going to go down, and you're going to go down about 8 feet. And I couldn't imagine it. When he told me that, I just figured I'm going to die. That's it. I'm going to die. And Spirit probably, just out of love, is going to let me die with my dog. Meaning in the sense because Spirit knew I was out there too far, and I was already not able to move out there. So Spirit knew I couldn't get back. In fact, that's what Spirit said to me. Spirit said to me before I started moving forward to go get my dog. Spirit said, you can't even go back now. You and all that arguing, all that arguing and all that crying and all that yelling at me about losing your dog and everything, and now you can't even go back. And that's what Spirit said to me. And so Spirit let me go forward. When I got to that certain point out there, Spirit said, you got to go now, you got to go under. And I couldn't believe it. But it just was like I got infused. And it wasn't adrenaline that infused me. It wasn't adrenaline. Because that already was in me. And that adrenaline wasn't stopping the freezing cold that was taking over my body. And that adrenaline, I'm getting choked up right now. That adrenaline wasn't what was letting me move at that point. It was something else. I went down underwater, and I felt like I held my breath first. And when I went down under, I went about 8 feet, and I opened my eyes. And I saw an angel in that water down in there. I saw an angel. I saw a light and the shape of an angel. She was right there. It was a she angel. It was a female angel. And in her arms was August. August was right in her arms, and August had a red collar on. And I saw the red collar around August's neck. And that red popped out like it never popped out ever before. It popped out like never before. And I felt like in that very moment, euphoric in the sense where I felt like I could even breathe under there. Now, I know I wasn't breathing under there, because how can that be possible? That's not possible. But I felt like I could hold my breath forever, or even breathe, or I felt like I was breathing. The angel handed me over August, and I grabbed August by the neck, by the red collar that was just beaming out. And I pulled her up to the surface, and I got to the surface. And as I got to the surface, I saw Spirit for the second time in my life. The second time in my life. I still haven't seen Spirit yet since. I hear spirit every day, but I've never seen spirit since. The first time I saw spirit was at age 4 at the dinner table when spirit was standing behind my grandmother. And that's when I got the gift that day. I got it that morning, but later on that evening at the dinner table, I saw spirit standing up behind my grandmother. And this is the second time I saw spirit. Spirit was standing on top of that water and looking right at me when I got to the surface. I felt great relief. And I felt not only relief, but the fear was gone. I felt like I succeeded. Whether August is dead or alive or whatever, I felt like I succeeded. And what did Spirit say to me right then? Spirit said, "You're out of time. The angel is leaving." And then it hit me right there. It dawned on me that I am only moving because of that angelic power that she had when she was under that water. I'm only moving in this freezing cold 37-degree water temperature, 35-degree water temperature. I'm only moving in that because she gave me the power. It hit me right there as I was way out there holding on to my dog. And then I realized, oh my God, dear Lord, dear God. And Spirit said, hurry back now, hurry. And I did everything I could to push myself back using the powers, the angelic powers that were there. When I got to shore, I had nothing left of me, and I knew the angel had left. I knew it because I got to that shore and I was wasted. And I was on that shore, and my dog was on that shore. I pulled her on the shore there. And I said to Spirit, thank you. I said to Spirit, thank you. It's the first time I said thank you to Spirit. First time ever I said thank you to Spirit. I said thank you. And I thought my dog was gone. And my dog was alive. My dog was miraculously alive. Yes, we both had hypothermia. We did. We had hypothermia. We both did. And we recovered. Okay? And we recovered. But we should have never been able to make that trip back. I should have never been able to make that trip in. It wasn't possible on any level. The sun was just setting out of nowhere, and the water calmed down. It calmed down as I laid wasted on the shore, laid there wasted with my dog. And the sun was coming down, and the light was beautiful. It was beautiful the way it streaked across. It was not just magical, it was angelic. It was godly. It was holy, and the light was coming down. And I said to Spirit, thank you. And, later on, Spirit said, that's the first time you've ever thanked me. You've been so bitter and so sore over receiving this gift since age 4. That's the first time you ever thanked me. I committed my life at that point. I didn't care what was going to happen. I didn't care, what information I'd bring to the surface about the medical world that some might laugh at, even though it's decades ahead of its time. I didn't care what scrutiny by hearing a voice or what someone would think about hearing a voice perfectly clear from the outside of the ear and being able to tell people that publicly and everything. I didn't care at that point. I didn't care because I owed Spirit and I owe people and I owe everybody. I owe all of you. Because that's what I'm here for, to do whatever I can. And Spirit says, the first time you thanked me, and I knew I committed myself then and there. And my dog had a huge part of it. My dog had a huge, huge part of that commitment to move forward. And that's how much animals mean to me and in my life. And I know they mean just as much in your lives in every way. So I thought, let's do a little pet health show. We'll cover what we can, and we'll do what we can, and that's why I'm here. So how's everybody doing today? We're okay. Get a cup of tea and relax. Do you have your animal with you? You don't have to have your animal with you, of course. And we'll do this show. So there's all kinds of things our pets get, problems our pets get all the time. I always worry about neurological conditions that pets get all the time, nervous system issues. Dogs and cats get diagnosed with ALS, immune system issues. Cats get diagnosed with AIDS, and and all kinds of different problems we have. We have deficiencies, we have allergies, we have hot spots, lipomas, cancer. We have nervous system problems. We got bad breath, teeth problems. The whole bit. Thyroid problems, UTIs, and shaking off that story for a moment, you guys. Just bear with me. A little choked up here. So anyway, the bottom line is we got to do whatever we can for our pets that we can, and of course, you got to have your best vet that you love, and that always matters. You always have to have support with pets. It's always important to have support. Pets can't say, "This hurts here." Mommy, daddy, this hurts here. They can't say that. They can't do that. They can't do it. And so we always have to have other insight wherever you can. You always have to have some support. You always have your best holistic vet. Some people have vets that aren't holistic. Some people have them that are holistic. Right now, they're all kind of blending. I think they're all blending. In the old days, holistic pets were ostracized, in my opinion. They were. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But in the old days, holistic vets had a harder time. They had a harder time because the conventional vets ran the roost in the older days. And then I think it's completely changed at this point. I think it's completely changed. I think it's a blend of two. So you do what you can. You get the best vet you love and like. And that's always good to have that support. So all right, so the bottom line is we're going to cover a lot of different things, different foods, supplements that you can do, the whole bit. Pets are therapy companions. You know that. You don't need me to tell you that. There's nothing new about that. You know that. You know that in your heart. You know that in your soul, that pets, help people heal. So your doggy, your cat, your kitty, they help you heal. Your bird, your whatever pet you have, your horse, your rabbit, they help you heal. And they can help, heal disease, help heal illness. They stimulate your immune system. So if you haven't heard that, I'm just figured I'd give you a little talk about that too, is our immune systems respond. So our white blood cells and our killer cells. So our killer cells, our lymphocytes, basophils, monocytes, neutrophils, they all respond to pets. Our blood platelets really respond, believe it or not, and the production of platelets and so forth. They're actually that there's a response that happens with having a pet, having an animal in your life. So, just touching an animal, your immune system actually gets stimulated. Cuddling an animal, your immune system gets stimulated, and your adrenals calm down. They actually calm down. They smooth out. They balance out. They neutralize your adrenals when you have an animal or a pet. Unless your dog tears up a couch and rips out all the stuffing and eats it, then your adrenals are going to go the opposite direction. I get that, and your adrenaline's going to start kicking in because you're going to be worried about what your animal ate, number one, and then of course the couch is all torn up. But regardless of those moments in time, whenever they might have been or have been, the other side is taken over, meaning the other side of the healing that occurs from having an animal, having a pet, having a dog, having a cat, and the healing that occurs overrides those moments of, frustration when something like that occurs for whatever reason. We've all been there, I think, in our lives. So, cysts, tumors are really popular with animals. Cysts, tumors, nodules. Okay, lipomas tend to grow in dogs and cats, and they grow. They can grow pretty darn big too. I like to leave them alone when lipomas are growing, and I like to try to stop the growth. We got to remember something. Lipomas feed off of food. Lipomas actually have a string attached They have a string attached. When surgeons go in and take lipomas out of people, there's like roots. There's like strings attached. It's a little angiogenesis, these little strings, these ventricles or these blood vessels, like kind of like a jellyfish it's very strange. Well, maybe a jellyfish doesn't really, explain it, you guys. But the lipoma has feeding tubes. We can call it that. Tiny ones string out. And they look for food. So if we're feeding our animals something toxic or something that the lipoma likes, the lipoma is going to be drawing up food constantly and over time growing. So I like to stop the growth of lipomas. I like to stop the growth of lipomas. And, one way that is to take out foods that could stimulate a lipoma's growth. Any GMO food grows lipomas like nothing does. So you just always want to be GMO free, regardless if you're a grain-free dog, if you have a grain-free cat, a grain-free animal, or you have, or you're feeding your animals grains. They have to be non-GMO. That is so important. Now, if you can't afford anything but the most simplest, not so healthy food that is 20 cents a pound somewhere, and that's the way you can survive, I stand behind you. Don't worry about it. I'm not trying to, make you starve and not pay your bills and your electric and your lights and all that. And but so I understand you do what you can to survive, but if you have the means, you just want to make sure that you make sure you keep GMO food away from dogs, cats, horses, anything, any kind of animal, no matter what, because they grow lipomas so aggressively. So I like certain supplements for knocking down lipomas. Vitamin C, like ester C. I like doing ester C as a precautionary measure. That's something that's really good for lipomas. Olive leaf. Olive leaf is like, an amazing, miracle herb. It's not really an herb. It's, it's the leaf of the olive tree. You know what I'm talking about. But it's in the herbal world, olive leaf is amazing. For really helpful for lipomas, because there's phytochemicals in the olive leaf that get drawn up into the lipoma and slow down the growth or stop the growth of lipoma. And Paw d'Arco, that's another one. That's another great one, Paw d'Arco. That's fantastic. So those are a couple of things to slow down any kind of lipoma. Like I said, keep the GMO food away. That's important too. Maybe even go 100% grain free when you're dealing with serious lipoma issues with a dog. And a lipoma is a fatty tumor, just in case someone might not know that out there. So, hot spots. I want to talk about hot spots for a minute. Hot spots, kind of like the allergenic hot spot, the real itchy part. The dog might itch and bite the fur out. A cat might itch, bite fur out. Anything. A rabbit could itch and bite fur out. A guinea pig could do it. Hot spots, usually it's a reaction to food of some kind. I recommend switching foods out, and I'm going to recommend some different foods and everything. But I recommend switching foods out, and it doesn't come easy in a lot of cases. You can switch your food out once, go 6 weeks, and not see a difference with the hot spots. And you should give it some time. 6 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks. If there's no difference with the hot spots, switch out the food again. And if there's no difference with the hot spots over in another 6 to 8 weeks, switch out the food again. If your pet will allow you to switch out the food, because I realize that some pets, they won't just change their food. They'll be like, okay, I don't like this food. I like another food. But that's a great way to try to eliminate hot spots, a reaction that's occurring. Now, it doesn't mean that a healthy food is causing the hot spot exactly. It means that the body's wired in a way that you're trying to break the cycle. Sometimes it is an unhealthy food that's causing the hot spots. Many times it always is. It's just bad food, or a food that's got fillers and stuff in it, which there's not a lot of foods like that as much anymore. There seem to be breaking it down where the land out there is evening out. But the bottom line is that, if it's not the food though, changing the food can break the cycle of hot spots and fur loss. So that's something to consider right there. Vitamin C is critical once again for hot spots because the vitamin C helps heal the wound faster. Even if it's not fixing the hot spot reaction, it's healing the wound faster. The last thing you want is an animal that's not able, that the animal's immune system's not really doing the job it needs to do to heal a wound as fast as it's being made or so forth. So that makes it much more difficult. Let's see, let's go with a couple, so it brings me to deficiencies, you guys. So when the whole thing of deficiencies, you got to make sure you have the right supplements for deficiencies. I like Ambia Gold Pet Health. So Ambia Gold Pet Health multivitamin mineral. That one I like. I think that's really good for a multivitamin for animals. So check into that if you can. I like that a lot. And then I like Solid Gold has a sea male, SEA. A sea male kelp powder. Solid Gold is kind of like I think it's a good mineral and vitamin naturally, the way it's set up. You can do a little of that Solid Gold. I think that one's a good one too for just multivitamins. So we'll keep on going down the line because I'm going to need to do part 2, probably part 3 of pet health along the way, because we're already, halfway through this show and I can't even touch upon how much I want to talk about. So we're definitely going to have to do a few versions. So with deficiencies, you want to get the multivitamin. You want to get like something like a sea male, a little bit of kelp powder. These things matter for issues. Barley grass juice powder. Barley grass juice powder is imperative for deficiency issues that animals have. So slipping in a little bit of that in the food is really important somehow if you can do that. B12. I mean, I give my animals the B12 that I recommend, the one that's on the directory, methylcobalamin, dinosylcobalamin. So, that's the one I use for my dogs. I've seen a difference, using that. I've seen people use that for their animals, whether it's dog or cat or other animals, and things have changed. So if they're dealing with something that's a struggle, dealing with something that's some kind of ailment, you can improve just about basically on almost every ailment. Now, neurological problems, nervous system problems with animals, dogs, cats, other animals, nervous system conditions, you want that B12. That's really important. So consider that in the the plan. It could be just a couple of tiny drops. Not even, you don't have to do a whole dropper full. You don't have to do 2 dropper fulls, but I mean just a little bit. If your dog's really big or your cat's a little bit bigger, you can do a few more drops, but just all you need. So that's something that for the central nervous system, that's imperative. Vitamin C, once again, literally for almost everything, is critical and can help with anything neurological too. So in central nervous system, vitamin C is amazing. It's really powerful and it helps. It helps. So these are some things. So many to keep on going. UTIs are really a difficult thing to deal with dogs, with cats, with other animals. And sometimes they can become so chronic, the animal suffers. It's really a difficult situation. Vitamin C, once again, is important to build up the immune system in your animal so that less possibilities of UTIs occur. I like the olive leaf for UTIs. I think it's really powerful and wonderful for UTIs. And the Pau d'Arco is really great for UTIs as well. Teeth problems, teeth infections, anything like that, Pau d'Arco. Propolis, little bit of propolis. You don't need a lot, but a little bit of propolis could be really helpful for UTIs, for teeth problems, for teeth gum infections. I'm covering whatever angles I can as fast as I can for you guys. So these are some of the options. And then that you can do. Heart problems, heart conditions, vascular issues, heart disease in dogs, cats, other animals. You always want coenzyme Q10. You always want that in the mix. Vitamin C you always want in the mix, but you want the coenzyme Q10. Very important for any kind of heart conditions. Listen, I'm sure, look, your vet will probably have something else to add in there too. I'm giving you the baseline of things that you really should do. And moving on down the line, let me talk about a little bit about what I do for my dogs. And some of you have cats and everything, and some of this is interchangeable, whatever. And you can also bring all this information to your holistic vet or to your vet as well. So I feed my dogs raw, so they get raw food. I've been feeding my dogs raw food for decades, as far as meaning every dog that I've ever had going back since I was a child. So raw food was what I've always done for them, and right from the beginning. And when I was feeding the dogs raw food, it was considered, what should I say? It was considered reckless back in that day. So you weren't allowed to tell your vet that you're feeding your dog raw, just so you know. So back in the day, when you go back 30 years ago, and you weren't allowed to tell your vet. If you told your vet 30 years ago that you were feeding your dog raw, there would be a big problem. In fact, some vets would probably call some kind of service and have your pets taken away. I'm just being straight up honest. Your pets would be taken away. And depending on what state you were in and where you were, probably everything mattered, and who you were and who whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's all these different ratios that fall in to whether that would happen, but it could happen at that time, and it probably did happen. I think I remember years ago talking to one person that said it happened to them, and it didn't happen to me or anything, but you had to keep it quiet. So 30 years ago, when you're feeding your dogs raw chicken, you couldn't tell anybody. Couldn't tell the vet, God forbid. And if you're feeding them raw meat, raw beef, you couldn't tell anybody. I'm just telling you right now. So when I started doing it, I don't know if there was only about 10 or 15 people in the US at that time that were doing it. Maybe there was more, and I'm not correct exactly to how many. I know it was so far and few. And remember, the internet didn't exist. Also, but I do know that it just didn't even exist, because when the internet was born, no one was feeding anybody raw. I mean, their animals raw. It was such a minute little fraction of possibility as far as people. I mean, so back to this. So that's what I've always done, though. And now there's raw food in the health food store for your dogs. There's raw food. There's dehydrated raw food. All the vets, all the holistic vets talk about it. It's all there. It's all great, but it was a great way to lose your animals to some kind of service. I don't know, to whatever. I forget what services just take your animals away, but they do. So, and but I've always had good results, and nothing but good results with the raw food. So I feed my dog the grass-fed meat, because I'm not going to feed my dog the non-grass-fed meat unless it's some kind of bizarre situation, but I still wouldn't. I would find something else. So grass-fed meat, and you can find that grass-fed beef in everything, Whole Foods, health food stores, regular health food stores now, supermarkets, Costco, you name it. You can find it. It's there. And I don't like getting the chopped meat, because chopped meat has potential to harbor more, types of bacteria. Grass-fed beef has a little less bacteria, or a lot less bacteria than others, but still it does have bacteria. And it's there. Dogs can handle certain levels of bacteria, and their acids will eat it up like it's nothing, like it's no big deal. Their hydrochloric acid is so much stronger than ours. I mean, it's off the charts. Dogs have, how I talk about the undiscovered hydrochloric acid that we have that nobody knows at all, except it's in my book. It's the seven types of hydrochloric acid that we have that makes up our hydrochloric acid that science and research hasn't discovered at all. And that's what the celery juice does for us, where the mineral salts in the celery juice fixes and corrects the 7 blend of hydrochloric acid we have in us. Dogs have a 20 blend that's undiscovered by science and research, a 20 blend of hydrochloric acid. That means science research only thinks they have one hydrochloric acid. No, it's a 20 blend. And that's the power of that. And cats also have something similar, but the carnivores, they can handle the meat. So you got your carnivore animals, pets, so they handle the meat. So that's what I like the grass-fed beef for my dogs. Raw meaty bones are really good. Marrow bones, incredible. Marrow is like an answer for dog and cat health. Marrow it means so much. It means so much. It's packed with minerals. It's loaded with minerals that dogs and cats, any kind of carnivore, people have pet foxes. They have pet foxes. I mean, they have all, the carnivore can use that mineral, unlike any other, living organism on this planet. The carnivore can use that mineral composition inside those bones. So the marrow bones are so important for their health, which can turn dog and cat health and pet health around. So that's something. I always do the raw meaty bones. Homemade dog food. I make like a lunch of vegetables and a little bit of fruit. I throw an apple in the food processor, 2 celery sticks in the food processor. And that's for one dog, apple and 2 celery. And I'll throw a little bit of the barley grass juice powder in there. And I'll squeeze a little bit of the B12. Okay. And I'll put some hemp seeds in there too. So a little handful of hemp seeds in that mix. Hemp seeds I really like for my dogs, and I grind this up. I grind it up. It turns it into just a little mash, a little apple and celery mash. That's just one example of a little bit of lunch. A lot of times I'll put a pint of berries in there. Wild blueberries. I do like to give them every single day when I can. When I have them, I get the frozen wild blueberries. I put some wild blueberries in the food processor and I grind it up. Now, that's just my little lunch. Dinner time, they get the meaty bones, the marrow bones. I don't let them crunch or chew too much of the bone parts off, because if they swallow a big piece, it could become problematic, and they could throw it up or something like that. So I just like them chewing a little bit, chewing around, getting some meat off the bone, licking out some of the marrow, and then I push the rest of the marrow out with my thumb, and they get that, which is really great. So this is some of the things I do. Now, I taught my dogs to eat little pieces of banana right when they were puppies. Even if they're not puppies, you can give them little pieces of banana. You give them little pieces of papaya. You try little different berries. You try different fruits. Get them to like a little bit of fruit, because fruit is that important and that helpful for your dog's nervous systems, and to stop lipomas, and to stop cancers. So you do want the antioxidants from fruits, berries, and raspberries, blackberries, the wild blueberries, of course, without a doubt. Banana, a little bit of papaya if you want. You can try a couple different other fruits, but you want to get them to taste some of these and get to like them, because you want that fruit inside your pets. Even if it's just a little bit, you want a little bit in there, because that's what prevents all the cancers that our animals get later on. And if your animal has a cancer, you want their immune system fighting it. So whatever treatment or whatever you're doing, whether you're working homeopathically with a holistic vet or you're working conventionally with a vet, the point is you still want that support. So you want to get those antioxidant-rich fruits a little bit, here and there, even a little bit every day in your animals, so they have a better chance of fighting cancer. And what's in those fruits does stop lipomas and pushes back lipomas. So that's important to understand. All right, so let's talk about some things. There's a canine granola factory makes this great coconut grain-free treats and biscuits for dogs. So I like that. Canine granola factory. They make this coconut grain-free treats, biscuits for dogs. I like that. Honest Kitchen, for cats and dogs, they make a raw dehydrated food. Just add a little bit of water. And let's talk about grains and pets. This is a funny thing. If someone's going to use really bad dog food GMO grains, fillers, byproducts, chemicals, and it's better off to make your own homemade food and still use a grain. Still use a grain, some brown rice, and so don't be afraid. So brown rice, a little bit of sweet potato, brown rice, a little bit of winter squash, brown rice, a little bit of broccoli, brown rice. I mean, some celery. So you can make your own homemade foods, and they could be homemade cooked foods for your dogs too. But anything is better than the really bad store shelf, GMO foods you got to be concerned about. But I like being grain free for my dogs, and I do like grain free for animals. Unless they're a type of animal that's dependent on grains for a lot of reasons, and because it could be the make and model of that animal. And they have to rely on something. They have to rely on an alfalfa grass. They got to rely on something else. Maybe it's a small animal. Maybe somebody's got a chipmunk. Maybe somebody's got a gerbil. Maybe somebody's got a hamster or something. And I don't know all the, I could ask Spirit a zillion questions about a hamster, but I haven't in a long time, so I can't, can't come up with everything right now for all the little animals. But there's a lot of people feeding their dogs vegan and even feeding their cats vegan. I like it short term for reversing illness and disease in dogs and cats. But if you're going to do that, you got to slip in the wild salmon oil. So that you have to use. And, and again, just you can go to my directory on my website and you'll find everything. You'll find the right kind of wild salmon oil. You'll find the right kind of stuff, the right kind of, multi for dogs. You'll find all that there, cats and other animals. And, but the bottom line is, when it comes down to the wild salmon oil, it's something that's critical for carnivores. So when it comes down to the whole carnivore family, you can't go vegan too long. So you got to always remember that people aren't carnivores. So we're allowed to be vegan if we want. If you want to be vegan tomorrow, you're allowed to be. And even if you're not a carnivore, of course, as a human being, and you want to eat, animal protein, you're allowed to, because, people eat what they want. People will eat anything. And I don't discredit anybody who eats, high protein diets. I mean, I don't like high protein diets because it takes all the room for all the fruits and vegetables that are going to heal you, because you're too busy eating something else. But what I'm saying is, sure, if someone wants to be paleo, fine. If they want to be something else, fine. But we're not carnivores. That's not what a human is. But a dog, a cat, they are. They're carnivores. So you have to have the wild salmon oil. It has to be there if you're going to have a vegan diet for dog and cat. But you should have the animal proteins for the dogs and cats. There's no question that should be there. But the bottom line is, but like I said, I support human diets of all kinds, no matter what, regardless of someone not being a carnivore or the human race or not. It doesn't matter. I support all diets. But the bottom line is, for animals, you have to have it there. Because of what they are. It's important to what they are. So we'll go into some other things. Zinc is actually good for animals, like a drop of zinc, good for thyroid disease. So thyroid disease in dogs and cats and other animals, you want a little touch of zinc, because thyroid disease in animals is the same thyroid disease we have in humans. Very similar, actually. It's an altered strain of virus that we have. It's altered because it's altered for animals, but it's still the same whole thing behind it. It's a virus that gets into the thyroid. It's something that Medical Medium here brought that to the attention of the world. That's what causes Hashimoto's. It's a virus. Well, it's Epstein-Barr that causes Hashimoto's in humans, and that's the virus that actually gets into our thyroids. The thyroid book I have coming out with goes into a level of information that no book has at all out there. When you guys get it, you're gonna be knocked out of your socks, and you're gonna be happy. You're gonna be happy when you get that book. So order it when you can. You can find a description on it and everything at Amazon. for thyroid. And it's more than thyroid in there, the bottom line. But what I'm talking about, the virus that gets into our dogs and cats, is a similar type of herpetic family virus. It's in the Epstein-Barr family, but it's mutated for the dogs and cats and other animals. And it gets into the thyroid. Zinc helps stop that. Vitamin C helps stop that. Very important to use those. Having a strong immune system in your animals, very important. That's why we're talking about these other things. So, and BioGold has the pet health I mentioned earlier. Hawaii Farm alcohol-free tinctures. They have a cats and dogs line. So it's Hawaii Farm alcohol-free tinctures. So I really like it. It's veterinary herbal extracts. They're alcohol-free for cats and dogs. Check these guys out. I'm proud of these guys. They got great stuff. And so that's one other awesome. It's the Honest Kitchen for cats and dogs. So Honest Kitchen is raw dehydrated food. Just add the water like I was talking about. Oh, okay. So Origin dry cat food for dogs too. So there's Origin dry cat food for cats and dogs as well. So I'm giving you, all the different things that I could, talk about. See, something else my dogs do is they love celery. So introducing celery to your pets is really important. My dogs eat like 4 or 5 sticks every single day of celery. They eat it after they get their grass-fed beef in the morning. They eat it after they get their marrow bones in the afternoon. They'll chomp on a whole bunch of celery sticks. They also like cucumber slices. So see if you can get your animals interested in cucumber slices. You can grow like a wheatgrass bed for your cat. Now, grass, like barley grass, is so important, and even wheatgrass. So wheatgrass powder, barley grass juice powder, like I like the Vimergy barley grass juice powder. You can put that in your dog food. But if your dogs and cats eat a little bit of grass outside, that's okay. Just don't let them eat too much of it, because a lot of times our dogs and cats, they can get sick for some reason, and they run out and they want to eat grass. You don't want them to keep on, because they want to try to get themselves to throw up. You don't want them to go, completely obsessive compulsive OCD, eating tons and tons of grass. You don't want to do that because you don't want a blockage. You don't want your dogs and cats in a habit of eating so much grass. But it's okay on a normal basis, when they're feeling kind of normal, that they nibble on a little grass outside, as long as it's not sprayed or something, like in a community, or you spray your lawns with some kind of dangerous chemical. That you got to be careful about. But a little bit of grass is okay. You can grow a wheatgrass bed indoors for your cat to be around. For dogs, put a little barley grass juice powder in the food. Very helpful. So there's an amazing resource of a vet, and his name is Dr. Jeff Feynman. Dr. Jeff Feynman. He's at homevet.com, HOMEVET, homevet.com. It's a holistic vet. He's got 30 years. He's got 30 years in it. I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he's in touch in ways that I've seen no one else in touch with, and that's what I like. That's what I like, the whole bit. And he's got some really cool support systems that you want to check out too. He's got a holistic pet care community sign up. So go to his website, homevet.com. You could sign up to his holistic pet care community. You can sign up to that community. He's got meetings, empowerment meetings, online meetings, holistic action empowerment meetings for pets online. You got to check that out. He's got a library of articles, blog. He's got an online forum. He's extremely helpful. He's got great compassion, really great compassion. So I would sign up to his holistic pet care community sign up. It's so worth it. You won't be sorry. And the information you can learn, the support that's there, everything about it is wonderful. So you could go back to some of the things we were talking about. Foods. Remember, I keep, as far as dogs go, I keep dogs away from grapes. Don't do any grapes. They're bad for dogs. They're only bad for dogs because the phytochemical in a grape doesn't match up with dogs. It's actually toxic, so it's a different situation. So keep the grapes out. Keep the avocados out, because the problem is that a Hass avocado, your plain old Hass grown in California, is okay with dogs. But the problem is there's these different avocados grown in the West Indies, grown in different places. They're a different breed of avocado that could slip in. Some of the Florida avocados, the bigger avocados in Florida, they're not safe for pets. It's a different breed of avocado. And if you're not really savvy and smart about avocados and understanding avocados, then don't even give the animals any avocado. But if you really know you got a Haas and it's a regular Haas and it's the real deal, you can give your dog a little bit of avocado if that's the case. Macadamia nuts, I don't do any macadamia nuts for the dogs. The cats, keep that away. Chocolate is poison to dogs and cats. You guys know that. Keep the chocolate away. Chocolate is bad news bear. And alcohol with tinctures, I would keep that away too. Some of the supplements I like, while we still have a minute, I like Rescue Remedy for Pets, the alcohol-free Rescue Remedy for Pets. I like that. Keep pets calm, keep pets cool. I think that's pretty good. We talked about the solid gold sea meal as a multivitamin, the barley grass, the B12, the olive leaf, the ester C, coenzyme Q10, glucosamine, and chondroitin and MSM seems to work better for pets than it does even for humans. So glucosamine and chondroitin really doesn't work that great for humans, even though some people feel improvement. I've never seen it really get down and do the improvement that I like for joint problems, arthritic problems, and everything. But for animals, it's great. Skin salves. You can look for some great skin salves for animals. They can work too. So these are some of the other things I wanted to talk about. And the bottom line is, let's do a couple more a little bit. Make sure you have the wild blueberries in there whenever you can. You can put it in a grind up in a meal, a little bit of celery. Apples, pears, they're great for animals. Apples and pears are great for animals. Flaxseed meal or chia meal, you don't want to use a lot of it. You don't want to bloat your animals up with scoops and scoops of it, whatever you do. But a little sprinkle of flaxseed meal, a little sprinkle of chia seed can protect your dog's immune system, be really helpful. Sweet potatoes, cooked sweet potatoes, very good. Now you can do cooked food. You can do some cooked vegetables. And one of those is sweet potatoes. Now, you don't have to, if you feed your dog cooked meat, that's fine. If you feed your dog cooked vegetables, cooked meat, and that's what you've always been doing, you can keep to that. I'm giving you options in case there's health complications, health problems, and then you got different options. You can do the raw stuff, and there's all kinds of raw sources out there everywhere now that are amazing. But it's okay if you don't do the raw sources and everything's been working good for you with the cooked sources, like cooked animal protein. That's okay. That's all right. So yeah, some of the other things to talk about. Sweet potatoes is great for dogs too. And so yeah, that pretty much concludes the first part of just getting kind of much information, a little bit as I can, information, things you can do. I hope this helps. I hope this helps greatly, because our pets matter so much to us, and they mean everything to us. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say, well, it's my baby, it's my child, it's my companion, and yeah, because that's how we feel. That's how we all feel out there about our animals. And we feel about that with all our dear closest friends in our lives, the whole bit. So, check out thehomevet.com, like I said before. And hey, if you didn't sign up for the Healing Path, sign up for the Healing Path, because Healing Path is free. Go to medicalmedium.com, sign up for the Healing Path, download that, and you'll learn things in there that will keep you healing and calm and cool. Because the reason why I do this show is so also that we're healthy, so our pets have healthy parents, so our pets have healthy companions, which is us human companions our pets can have. So that's another reason why I want you keeping healthy, doing all the right things. Check out the thyroid book. You won't be disappointed. I promise you. That one right there. When I got finished with that one, I sat back. I said this before, I'm sure, a bunch of times, because it blew me away. I sat back and I was speechless when that thing was done, because it crosses the line. It's almost probably shouldn't even be out there, because it's too much information, too much. But I need you guys to have it and help heal people. So I don't care what the risk is and what kind of information I had to get from Spirit to put it in there. That's ahead of the time. And then it's going to rock the world of, probably a lot of people. It's probably going to get a lot of thyroid professionals just totally pissed off. but it doesn't matter. Hopefully they wake up and they like what's there too, and they help heal their people. I love you guys dearly. Take one day at a time. I love you. Bye. Bless you.